last lecture of our spring Wright Design series. We're so glad you're here, whether you be in person. Special thanks. And our virtual audience, we welcome you here as well. I'm really excited about our presenters tonight. They do very impressive work, and I'm excited for you to learn about them. I'm introducing to you the three members of the organization Defining Humanity and a little bit about each of them. So we'll start with Marion. Clendenen-Acosta is Associate Principal and Healthcare Project Leader at Kaler Slater, based in Milwaukee, right? Yes. Principles of her cultural creed: let the humble be fed, naked clothed, sick nourished, aged protected, and infants cared for, influences her professional focus and personal volunteerism, which includes serving on the board of Defining Humanity and Wisco NOMA. NOMA being, for those of you unfamiliar, the National Organization of Minority Architects. As Wisconsin's first African-American licensed female architect, Marion is driven by a deep understanding of the social responsibility to create spaces that uplift and empower communities. Taruna Gupta is a designer, planner, and advocate who moves through the world with a steady belief that architecture, at its best, is an act of service. As president of Defining Humanity, she leads global design efforts rooted in empathy, frugality, and care, bringing thoughtful solutions to communities often left behind. Through her leadership at Wisco NOMA, she uplifts future designers, champions equity, and redefines who gets to shape the built environment. And at HGA, she brings that same commitment to complex, award-winning work, ensuring that scale never overshadows humanity. Yash Mehta works in the space where ideas become built reality, where architecture, construction, and technology meet to shape the world more intelligently. At Clayco and Lamar Johnson Collaborative, he integrates AI and emerging tools into the design process, helping teams move with more clarity, coordination, and intent from first sketch to final build. Beyond professional practice, Yash leads two nonprofits in the US and India, using design as a tool for social good. From 3D printed schools in Madagascar to shelters in California and rural India to aid for communities in crisis, with a dual master's degree and recognition from AIA Chicago and India's top 50 young architects. Yash moves fluidly between large-scale infrastructure and grassroots efforts, always guided by the belief that design, when rooted in purpose, can quietly transform lives. These are some of the best written bios I've ever read. So I'm going to turn over the stage now to Yash first from Defining Humanity. Welcome.
Mic check. All right. I hope you guys can hear me well. Good evening to everyone. Thank you for such a warm welcome. The three of us are here, but we represent a bigger group of people. And these people come from different walks of life. They're people from, some of them work some of them are in a high school, some of them are retired, some of them are filmmakers, architects, interior designers, an exciting group of people. And they come from all over the globe. So we have volunteers, around 70 volunteers now from 12 different countries. And what brings us together, apart from, even though there's so much diversity, what brings us together is how can we use design and transform communities? How can we use our expertise, our time, and a conscious effort to elevate especially underserved, under-resourced communities across the globe? And can we promote equity? Can we create more safe spaces, and not just safe spaces? How can we create opportunities through that? Whether that means a wall, a building, a technology. And the way we do it is we do mindful listening to our communities. We understand what they seek. We envision together. We use empathy as a design lens. And so all of these wonderful folks, we all come together and we have lots of fun while we do this. And because of that, it has taken us to many, many different places, many, many stories across the globe. And today we'll be sharing 5 of those stories with you. But our potlucks are amazing, and we swear in many different languages. So we will share 5 different stories from 5 different projects and share what we have learned, how it has touched us, and how it influenced not only the communities but us as designers, and how can we bring change and transformation. Oh, sure. You guys missed some very handsome and good-looking folks over there.
Go out of your slideshow, is that okay?
Sounds good. I'll screen too. There is no funny. There's no technical. It has to be there. Okay. Yes. Yeah. Perfect.
Don't know what we can expect now, but
Let's see.
if you're able to share your slides, that's what we're. Carry on.
Right. I'm gonna hope and ask people on the call to make sure that they see our screen. Go. Five. All right. This is when I have 3 beers a night. You guys wanna probably do it this way? I don't know if the clicker is working. Oh, there it is. Okay. All right. For those on the call who weren't able to see our screen and hopefully can see now, all the wonderful folks we work along with, and all the different countries they come from, and how much fun we have. Okay, so let's start and share our stories. I think the presentation is going to be exciting after that. Come on, Marion.
All right, good evening, everyone. So I'm going to start by sharing the first project, which is First Repair's National Resource Center, and is reflected in the Adinkra symbol in Kunsun. Kunsun, this project speaks to the power of collective wisdom and working together to uncover something larger than any of us can create or teach or know. Cool. So a little background, Robin Rue Simmons is the founder and executive director of First Repair, and is the spearhead of the nation's first government-funded reparations program in Evanston, Illinois. So First Repair's mission speaks to their commitment to work to advance local reparations, as well as working with leaders across the country to advance reparations nationally. Additionally, First Repair works to implement repair that heals and sustains, advocates for racial justice and empowerment of the Black community. So here's a before image of First Repair's headquarters. We started with a blank slate, and the shared vision was to create a place that cultivates hope and inspiration and be a symbolic representation of progress and optimism. One of the key principles of how we work at Defining Humanity is understanding that design begins with listening. So in 2023, our team had the opportunity to lead a visioning session at First Repair's national or annual reparations symposium, where leaders and allies meet to share and strategize on reparations, progress, and initiatives. This session was a transformative session. It included hands-on workshop, a lot of dialogues and sharing of their vision for a resource center, a lot of call and response. It was really a great day and opportunity to engage with their community. And out of that, we were able to use different tools, hands-on. They were able to do charretting and use model size. We did some 3D models, and they were able to create different scenarios of how they could potentially use that space. And we gathered all of that information in addition to the dot survey, and that helped inform how we moved forward with the design for their cultural resource center. So as part of the outcome of the session, this information helped to infuse the design of the resource center with the community's collective spirit as we work to develop a vibrant hub for learning, celebration, and unity. And we further distilled the essence of their collective ideas to four main project drivers: community, flexibility, economy, and identity. So every stage of the design process was one of collaboration. The design's approach centers on a kit of parts. So they were looking to make sure that the space was adaptable and flexible, so it could be used for exhibitions, presentations, community engagement, and just bringing the community into the space for learning. So in addition to that, Robin is a big proponent of art being in its many facets, whether it's dance or music or art or murals, paintings. That is a facet for healing, and wanted the Resource Center to be a canvas for local culture and history, and to be able to enhance a sense of belonging and identity. So she engaged a local artist named Damon Lamar Reed, and he worked on the exterior mural, which was installed in the summer of 2024. So the mural, as you can see, transformed the exterior of the building into a visual and vibrant landmark, bringing color, reflecting family and future potential, with key messages that champion progress and healing. So the Adinkra symbols harkens back to the beginning of what we heard during the visioning sessions, and the collective voices and vision of creating a space of strength, resilience, hope, inspiration, wisdom, dignity, growth, and renewal. That message of joy also translated into the interior space, which also has a vibrant mural, which imbues joy. And this one was painted by Maya Faith. And the space is now in full use as a resource center for the community, all through the power of collaboration. So together is where change begins. I'll close with this project overview or a quote that Robin shared. The beauty and strength of the Black community expressed in this mural is flooding my heart with profound joy and immense hope. I hope this mural and the Resource Center serves as a charging station for the Black community and our allies working towards full repair. So Taruna will share our second project.
Good evening, everyone. I'm going to talk about our 3D printed projects that we did in Madagascar. Madagascar is a small island off the southeastern coast of Africa. The island is only about the size of Texas, and the population is 28 million, which is roughly 1.5 times New York's population. The country really struggles with a high out-of-school rate, with many children, particularly in rural areas, lacking access to quality education. Only around 30% of school-age children are actually in school. This perpetuates a cycle of poverty and limits their opportunities for a brighter future. So how do we really solve this problem and solve it very quickly and economically? The solution we came up with was leveraging 3D printing technology, building sustainably and economically to provide accessible learning environments for underserved children. So, why 3D printing? So there's a lot of different reasons. First of all, 3D printing technology has really revolutionized the way we think about architecture and construction. It allows for new forms and shapes that were previously impossible to achieve with traditional methods. And above all, it is cost-effective and sustainable solution for building in remote locations. Madagascar, being an island, is ravaged by a lot of natural disasters, particularly cyclones. So 3D printing provided a solution that could provide resilient options and increase the lifespan of buildings on the island. One of the reasons why we also chose 3D printing was the lack of infrastructure and resources in building materials in Madagascar. So we try to address those challenges creatively. So being here and having the project being 3D printed in Madagascar presented multiple challenges. But technology, particularly digital twin, is the way we were able to overcome those challenges. So we created a 3D print model in digital format, and we tested it using a 3D printer. And this is the same file that was used in the actual 3D printer on site to print the same building in concrete. So this is part of the visioning that we did, creating 3D renders and making sure that our vision aligned with the vision of the community. If we compare traditional methods versus 3D printing, there are some key advantages. You can reduce human error. Lack of unskilled labor on site was one of the key reasons we went with 3D printing. It was a technology that could be manipulated virtually, and we trained local community there to learn how to 3D print. 3D printing also increases labor efficiency and structural integrity. There's consistent construction quality, and only 2 or 3 skilled workers are required for printer operation. And the other advantage is that you can have round-the-clock construction capability. As we continue to test this technology, our goal was to optimize this process till we have created a successful prototype which can push the boundaries of 3D printed technology. We used local labor to build the school and train them in the construction methodologies so they could have the skills needed to build many more such facilities. We worked with a local organization to introduce a course, creating new learning opportunities to use the 3D printer. We believe that buildings are not just 4 walls. They are spaces that foster a sense of community. They're meant to develop their potential and leverage their abilities with tools and resources to do that. The 3D printed pilot project was about how we can amplify the impact very quickly and create a ripple effect. We still need thousands of classrooms and schools. With this successful pilot, we are able to scale up to address the urgent need to build educational infrastructure in countries like Madagascar. And our hope is that we can replicate this in countries around the world where the need for infrastructure for education is really pressing. The pilot project led to a 3D printed campus, which is in a remote area on the southeast coast of Madagascar. As you can see on the site, it is very remote and there is really nothing in the vicinity. So you're probably wondering why build in the middle of nowhere? Well, two reasons. Well, this land was donated to us by somebody who owns plantations in this area. So we really believe as an organization that education is key to advancing equity in the world. Knowledge is power, and no one should be limited by where one is born to ensure success. Second, we want to make an impact where it will make the most difference. In spite of being at least 30 minutes walk, this will be the nearest campus for hundreds of local children and cut down the commute time to 3/4. So for this project, we used a new and more optimized 3D printer. This is a robotic arm system and is not the traditional gantry system, which was used in the previous project. This system can print using clay, soil, lime, and cement instead of concrete. So the problem with 3D printing in a remote site such as Madagascar is that 3D printers use very specialized cement mix, concrete mix, so you have to transport it from other countries. So for the first project, we had it transported from Denmark. And for this second project, the cement was donated by Heidelberg, a company out of Germany. So it was really important to optimize the amount of concrete that we're using. And using this robotic arm, we were able to not only use local materials such as clay, soil, lime, but we were also able to optimize the way these walls are built and the amount of material they're using. Sustainability and 3D printing intersect to revolutionize manufacturing by enabling resource-efficient production, reduced waste generation, and paving the way towards a more environmentally conscious and sustainable future. Our team was able to use scripting, such as Grasshopper, to optimize what that wall structure is, because really the amount of concrete that you use for this wall system is what drives how much we're able to build on site. So using tools such as Grasshopper, we were able to determine how much hollow core we could have within the structure and really optimize the structure of this wall. We also used, and you can see some of the models right there.
For those who come in person.
Yeah. With this project, we leveraged the capability to create interesting forms with 3D printed technology. The entire campus has only 3 different modules that are repeated throughout the campus design. There are no straight walls except the walls that the chalkboard goes on. The form is dictated by efficiency. So the walls are all 3D printed, but the roof and the supporting structure are local. So Madagascar has a lot of wood construction. So we had local craftsmen engineer the glue lamp beams, and then the roof is a low slope metal roof. What we realized with our first pilot project is that the precise nature of 3D printing, you have to build in tolerances. So on this project, we built in tolerances to allow gaps where we're not so perfect that if any other material, such as a door, has to fit in that certain space, we learned from the first project to be flexible. So we were able to build in some tolerances in the design of our 3D print file. So this project is being 3D printed with a 3D printer that comes from a company based out of Italy called WASP. And like I said earlier, the cement comes from Germany. So before we built on site in Madagascar, it was important to test it out and make sure that the material works with the printer and that the file that we're using to 3D print on site will actually work in reality. And the thing is that the climate in Madagascar is very different from the climate in Italy or in Germany. So we had to simulate the environmental conditions in a lab in Bologna, Italy. So this is a mock-up of the actual wall module in a controlled environment that simulates the environment in Madagascar, but in Italy. So here is just how the wall comes together. And what we also did is that we provided columns that are put inside the 3D printed walls, creating a stronger, more stable structure, especially creating extra resistance to cyclone grade winds. So what you see here are renderings of our 3D printed campus. As I said earlier, none of the walls are straight. And the reason is not just aesthetic, it's also to optimize the use of material. Because if you have straight walls that are filled with concrete, you really are wasting precious material. All this material has to be sent by freight from Germany to a port in Holland, Netherlands, and from Netherlands to Madagascar. So just to save the cost of shipping, we were able to test and optimize the wall structure. The 3D printed campus in Tulier is not just a school. During the day, it's a school, but in the evening, it's a community hub. We have 3D printed classroom pods, and then we have a canteen and toilets on site that are traditional brick construction. A big part of the Malagasy culture is music, theater, and performance. So we designed our campus around an amphitheater space, which during the day can be used by students and can be used as a community hub in the evening. The design of the campus was very intentional. We have interaction spaces where the community and people can come together after hours. We have inclusive spaces for all genders, ages, and abilities, keeping in mind cultural and religious sensibilities. Sports is a big part of the culture in Madagascar, so we have opportunities for soccer fields and other sports as part of this campus. There are multiple challenges in the education sector in Madagascar. The school infrastructure lacks access to sanitation facilities. So when we first started working on this project, they did not want to spend any money on toilets. They would rather use it elsewhere. But we really wanted to set these projects. We really feel that to set these projects for success, we have to look at them holistically. We pushed to get toilets built on site so we could create a more conducive learning environment. Designing with dignity and fulfillment of basic human needs ultimately enhances the quality of life for all. Similarly, nourishment is an important part of the well-being of children and communities, so providing access to food is a key part of the goal for this project. We have vegetable and fruit gardens on site, so a lot of the food that will be used will be generated on site itself. And we chose to go with traditional brick construction for the toilets and canteen because it was something that we wanted the community to feel really invested in and build themselves. And I also wanted to point out that because the site was in the middle of nowhere, there is really no infrastructure on site. There is no plumbing, there is no sewer, there is no water, there is no electricity on site. So it's a very sustainable campus. I think it's almost net zero because almost all the energy is being generated on site. So all the roofs of the classrooms are covered in solar panels. There is a water pump, there's a water well and water pump that was installed on site. We're providing battery storage for power. So any extra power that is generated through the solar panels, and you do get a lot of sun there, is stored on site. And then we are using septic system for the toilets. So I'll just say this in closing, that overall for this campus, even though we're using 3D printed technology, our design draws inspiration from the local context, culture, and history, translating them into build form that celebrates and reflects the unique identity of Madagascar, creating a connection with the community. For defining humanity, we really believe that architecture has the potential to shape and influence communities, while communities, in turn, shape and give purpose to the architecture.
Thanks, Taruna. Continuing on with the theme of education, We have another project in Madagascar, and this one is at the higher education or the university level. This for the University of Fianarantsoa, and it's a media library and cultural center. So similar demographic information that Taruna shared earlier in terms of the size of Madagascar and then the educational and economic discrepancies. So this is a big effort and initiative that's, as you can see, has been a focus for that island nation. So for this project, the goal of this was to, again, to create a cultural center and a media library. And so this was an interesting process for our team because we often worked across time zones, across different languages, Malagasy, French. Taruna is our French translator and able to speak that, and as well as English. And then we also were working with cultural sensitivities as well. As we, in order to gain information for the project, we wanted to make sure that all voices were heard and that they were just assured that we weren't coming in as experts and know it all and knew everything. We needed their input to be able to serve them and create a project that was authentic to their needs. Oops, give me a sec. So out of that similar visioning session that we had done for First Repair, all of that discussions, we were able to gather key insights and words from them as to what would be their ideal library and cultural and media center. And so they're like Ark of Knowledge, media library, the best, library of success. And so all of this information came from students, from the community, from alumni, from the university administration. And out of that, we had a key summary that spoke to having a pioneering, eco-friendly media library in Madagascar, creating a culturally vibrant and technologically advanced learning environment that inspires creativity, knowledge exchange, and community engagement for the university's students, faculty, and staff. So we did a lot of study of the culture, ethnography, looking into their, fabric, textiles, way of life, materials. There are 18 distinct cultural groups within the island, and part of the design, the university president wanted to make sure that that was reflected. So we, again, as Taruna mentioned, dance and music is a key part of the Madagascar culture. So we also took a look at that to see how that could influence design, as well as the landscape, being with a warm climate and being able to have education happen indoors, outdoors, ventilation, all of that was important, as well as looking at being able to make sure, again, the infrastructure would be sustainable. So as we looked at how we could combine one building that would serve two functions, multiple functions actually, educational, community engagement, collaboration. On the first floor, we made sure that there's a two-level library access, but then there's one side that connects to an area where the auditorium is, all of those public spaces, food access to canteen, food, arts, storage, the toilet areas as well. And then also making sure that we had large spaces for educational functions at various sizes, small learning spaces, larger tutoring spaces. A lot of times just learning interestingly that, for example, the way they tutor is not necessarily one-on-one. It's a lot of co-shared learning, and so a tutoring class might be 50 students, so making sure that the space could accommodate multiple functions and needs. So again, looking at massing and the architecture, making sure that the space reflects culture, is designed so to be able to take advantage of natural winds and sustainability, looking to make sure that that cultural references were included, so when they come to the space, there's a sense of pride and community that's reflected. So a couple other views, we see the access point for, signifying the entry, and then the auditorium to the right, and the library spaces off to the left. And this is some interior shot. This is when you first walk into the library, creating spaces that are open, making sure, again, there's access to, natural light that can be brought in from the roof, and then spaces where students can share and learn in public and then in private spaces. And then lastly, spaces that are very strongly reflecting culture. So here, if you see that one, that white building there in the middle of the slide to the left, that's their existing library. And so the scale and the site of this new library is right across the street right there. So the scale will be very large to be able to, again, accommodate the thousands of students that come to this university, as well as being able to engage community. So you see on the right side, the community and the university and students are very excited about this project, energetic, and they've already started and did a group session, a working session to start cleaning the site. So we're currently at the phase of getting ready to do some schematic drawings, the further development, so that that project could go into fundraising. So look forward to being able to share this on a broader level on the next, when we get further development.
So the next project I would like to share is Kranti. So Kranti is a project that's based in India, and in the Indian language of Hindi, Kranti means revolution. So Kranti is a home, it's a safe haven. Kranti is a nonprofit that is based in India, provides shelter and education to girls from India's red light areas. Some of them are victims of sex trafficking. So Kranti, their mission is to empower these girls to become agents of social change and happiness. For over a decade now, Kranti has created powerful outcomes without the security of a permanent home. Frequent moves, high rent, and lack of infrastructure have made it difficult to fully anchor programs or expand impact. To solve this problem, they moved from the very expensive city of Mumbai to Dharamshala, which is in the Himalayas, a quiet, serene sanctuary where they could afford to build their own home. The challenge for our team was to design a space that adapts, endures, and amplifies Kranti's vision while honoring the diverse needs of those who live, learn, and lead here. So again, like most of our projects, we start with listening. We met with the Kranti team and the girls who live there currently and have lived there in the past and are now change agents globally. We had people on the call from Mumbai, from Dharamshala, girls who are now studying and working in Germany, France, Italy, and the United States. So again, transcending the barriers of time, language, and culture. So Kranti, the vision of the space is creating a sense of belonging, not a visitor's welcome, a deep, quiet knowing this place was made for me. And this is from the point of view of the girls who live there. A space that is adaptable. Nothing here is fixed, not our dreams, not our schedules, not our floor plans. The space shifts as we do. A space that fosters joy, slides, swings, ladders to nowhere, because we don't want to wait for joy, we build it in. A space that fosters care, soft edges, warm light, a layout that watches your back, because safety shouldn't be a rule, it should be a feeling. So we worked with them to create 4 different design options. So the first part that we're working on right now is their living space, which is dorms. For 24 girls, a social space, study spaces, and bathroom facility. So this is in an existing, they bought an existing building in Dharamshala, and Dharamshala is the town where the Dalai Lama is based now. So it's the center of Buddhism. So it's a very global community in Dharamshala. So that is one of the reasons they moved there, because there's still a lot of social stigma with sex workers in India. So they were not really able to find a safe haven in Mumbai. So in Dharamshala now, they were able to buy an existing building, and we're converting that existing building into their living space. And we're also adding a floor to the building. And this is that additional floor that's being added. So as we said earlier, just looking at the project holistically from how those girls can live, educate, work, and empower themselves through the spaces that they live in. So most of these girls, they are taught in the school itself. In Kranti has educators that come and teach them. And then they also host workshops. They host therapy sessions. They host spiritual classes for these girls. So a big part of their time, a big part of their lives are spent within this building. So we really wanted to create a space that can be engaging, that can be fun, that can be creative, and that can be safe for them. So just going through some of the design options, really making it a very playful, joyful space. So currently, we're working with a local team of builders to create a thermally efficient envelope, and starting there because most buildings in India do not have central heating, and Dharamshala, being in the Himalayas, faces a lot of cold winds, cold weather, and snow. So trying to create a thermal envelope that can provide the comfort without having to rely on power. Power there is very expensive. So to minimize their expenses, our first step is to create a very efficient thermal envelope. And we're exploring new materials, new ways of construction. So we're testing out some wall assemblies. The structure has already come up. So you can see the column beam structure that's already there in place. I just want to end by saying Kranti is a home, a safe haven that is stable yet flexible, deeply healing yet forward-looking.
So Taruna and Marion talked about education and shelter, education and community, and the third aspect, the third pillar is shelter. So, homelessness is, I would dare say this, that homelessness is a problem that can be solved. There are a limited number of people, there is limited resources. We can design our way out of it if we put our minds together. So we've been doing a lot of research since past at least 11 years, 12th year going on how can we find different solutions. And, some of the facts that we've come across is the amount of homeless people in the United States itself is enough to fill up the entire city of Milwaukee. Which is a big number. In today's world, in the US, a third of the people are not able to afford good homes. So in a community of 100 people, 30 of them are the only people who can actually afford a good home. And we studied this as providing a house is not a solution to homelessness. There is a lot more to it. Once we started pulling those strings, we realized it's empowerment, it's education, it's vocational training, it's nutrition, it's mental health. And so as we went through this, we started understanding what should be in a shelter. We are working together with a lot of communities. One of them is based out of California called Homes for the Homeless. And we would work with them in different communities, different residential areas, and no one would want a homeless shelter in their area. There is still a stigma around it. And we've started thinking of what is included in a holistic shelter that can help someone who's homeless but can find their way back. And during this, during this 11 years, we have researched a lot. One of the research here that I'm sharing is 10 different cities across the world that have been facing homelessness, and what are they doing to solve it? What is their budget? Who are their partners? What of the policies are successful? What of them are not successful? And light bulbs clicked in our head where something in Brazil can actually be successful in India. And this gave us a lot of information and knowledge and enrichment on whether can we 3D print, can we create modular construction, can we do prefab, can we do adaptive reuse. And so we tried and tested, and we've been doing a lot of different projects to at least address homelessness. So it started with a shipping container which is $4,000, and how you can um, transform and change. And soon enough, they became larger communities. And we would think about how can you put not just homes, but a space where they can gather together, where they can have vocational training. One of the recent projects that is going up in California, someone donated us a marina, and we bought these wonderful units, which I'm going to share a little bit more about. Um, the need is really to create dignified housing. It's not just to give them a shipping container. That will always have a stigma. So how can someone get a good house, a good kitchen, a shower, a dryer, can do simple things in life? And we worked with a designer and a manufacturer based out of China who were able to create these really high-end, beautiful, good-looking, affordable homes that can not just help the homeless community, but also bring down affordability. Um, and as you can see, like they're beautiful, and the best part about them is being manufactured in China and getting shipped here, because we would ship them in bulk, and the production cost in China is very low. Within 3 years they can pay for themselves. So the idea to really solve a homeless community is to actually have economic stability. Without that, you can make a nice shelter, and then over the years it starts degrading. So if it has to be self-sustainable. So within 3 years, with the cities invested and involved in it, um, different programs running through it. And within 2 years, this is transitional. So within 2 years, another person would come in, and within these 2 years, they will get trained, get a job, and kind of move ahead. With these 5 different projects and 5 different stories, we want to share that fast forward right now, we have learned so much communicating through these communities, talking with them, understanding them, realizing it takes a village and maybe sometimes a country to, some of these, we're sharing some of the we weren't able to show all the communities we worked with and all the projects, but there are so many more who have helped us, many more projects that are shaping us and our understanding. And we thank you for, listening and understanding. And the the interesting part was that through design, I feel powerful and strong and optimistic about the future, that we can create a good impact. We can have designers across the globe helping us. For example, this project, 60 different individuals and families are now having a shelter just because everyone is volunteering their time. Um, in this particular project that Marion talked about, now a Black community has a resource center to go to talk to someone, to prepare for an interview, to read a book, to paint what they want, to find their path. And this is something that can really transform the community. The Madagascar project, last night I got a selfie from someone in Madagascar, a student, uh, sharing the one of the images and saying, "I cannot believe this is being built. Thank you so much." And waking up to that was there's a little tear in my eye. I wouldn't disagree to that. And even not just 3D printing is cool, but teaching them how to 3D print, giving the tool to them so they don't need us anymore. They are smart, they are intelligent, they care, and they can do it by themselves. We need to empower them with the right tools. And sometimes it may not be a building, it may be a technology or a mural. We just have to listen hard to understand what it is that they want. Even today morning, I had a call with someone from Kranti, and they are super excited, saying that finally I have a home, and now I can start a normal life. She was 32, I'm 32, and there was such a stark difference, and it grounded me to understand that it means so much more. And I would give a shout out to one of our volunteers. Ayushi is here. She's been working with us on the Kranti project. So glad to have you here. But we want to take this as an opportunity to encourage everyone to put our hand out and ask for a hug or a handshake and say, can we do interesting things together? Can we use your expertise or time or kindness to change a life somewhere on the globe? Because you can. So please follow us, like us, and donate to some of the projects. The QR code takes you to our connect page on the website. It was very, very nice to have you here, and thank you everyone for your time. Thank you, Marion. Thank you, Taruna. It's great when you have no questions. It's a perfect presentation. Yeah, it's interesting. We have had a couple of different experiences, but I would say um, traditional means and ways cannot get us where we need to. That is why there is a gap. And surprisingly, the world is generous. The people are amazing. They're welcoming. So a lot of, like in California, the city is being very helpful. They are open to, homes for the homeless, and the city have been working very closely together, even to figure out to send someone from the city to China to look at the manufacturing, to approve, to understand. So I think change is around, and I think people understand. So although there has been some, pushback on some things, but I think as designers, we look at it as a voice that we need to make happy through our design rather than arguing with someone, right? It's a job to make everyone happy through design and fulfill their needs. Whether you're on a city, I'm sure they're coming from a point of view of liability or safety or understanding what it is that their problem is and trying to help solve them is mostly our approach.
I'll just add to that, especially for the prefab housing in California that we're working on right now, there is a lot of um, collaboration happening with the local jurisdictions because all these units have to be certified. They have to have approvals from a lot of different agencies, including IBC or the residential code. So there's a lot of discussions with local jurisdictions. We've been on calls with the mayor of San Jose, Fresno, and different cities. The team there, which is led by the organization Homes for the Homeless, they're also another nonprofit. So they've been meeting with a lot of city officials and trying to see if the voucher program can be used to lease these units. So there's a lot of discussions to see how this technology and this resource can be implemented to solve some of the affordable housing crisis or to house the unhoused population.
And to just give you an idea, the other side of the coin, we are lucky to have city and planning departments and whatnot here. In some countries we work in, we 3D printed a column, a formwork, right, for a column that has been done once in Germany. That's it. So we had to be responsible enough to trust, to do 3 times the safety to make sure things are safe, because there isn't someone who's testing it out. So it's doing the right thing whether someone's watching you or not, and creating good, safe architecture and having fun during doing that. That's the best part.
repair is tied somehow to reparations.
Correct.
And that's because Evanston, Illinois has passed some law that contributes money for reparations.
Correct.
How does it work? I'm from Oak Park area.
Okay, so the organization First Repair was founded by Robin Rue Simmons, and she used to be an alderwoman for the city of Evanston. So she worked very closely with the city of Evanston to create this first, I think it's the first program in the United States that's funded by a city. So the reparations program that started First Repair, the organization, was funded by the city, and what they're trying to do is create that model that Evanston has for other communities and cities in the United States. So there's organizations like this that are now based in different states and cities that come together, and this resource center is a place of knowledge and a place of gathering and a place of putting their collective wisdom together to see how that reparations movement can be advanced in other cities. So part of the funding that First Repair has is from a lot of different organizations that are supporting this reparations effort. So the resource center was built by funding from some of these collaborators they have. But the reparations funding actually does get spread out in the community.
Well, so far, how long has it been in operation?
I think it was founded in 29. No, I think,
The first repair?
yeah. Yeah, I think it was founded in 2019, if I'm not mistaken, but they've grown slowly as the movement has grown. And there's some of the Robin and First Repair are some of the leading voices in the reparations movement, along with NARC, which is the National Association. Well, I'm not 100% sure what NARC is, but there's another national organization that co-leads this effort nationally with First Repair.
And part of the work that Robin does with the community is engaging with, again, community residents to be able to make the case for the reparations. And so within the library are all the resources to go through the entire process is very stringent. But they've navigated it. They are sharing that information within the community, and like Taruna said, across the country, so that people know that it is possible. There's a path forward, and being able to replicate that. So since you're in the area, you could stop by and talk to Robin. The library is up and open, and all that information is available for anyone in the community to research and learn.
Yeah, and NARC stands for National African American Reparations Community Commission.
Any other questions?
The 3D print. Here.
Maybe you've already answered this. Is one of the challenges, or is sometimes if you look at downtown Madison, you got to build stuff. That's the down. You find that areas of just the drawing.
Yeah, that's what is happening with most of the residential homeless shelter or projects, that we're finding lands that are actually affordable, and land is the base cost for making these profitable or not. But the cities are I would say welcoming. They're not, there changes in the zoning laws and so on, but they work through it. I think the challenge is the infrastructure, right? No one wants to be out there. That is by itself segregation. Is like, I'm going to put you out. So I think that's the economic problem of like keeping someone inclusive but not being able to afford it.
I also wanted to add that, when we were doing the research in different parts of the world on the on the problem, we noticed that some of the solutions, for example, in California, where land is very expensive and land is scarce, what was happening was that the city was donating or pricing down parcels that were oddly shaped or were, you know, used as something else but can be repurposed for uh, for providing housing and shelter. And you're seeing there's a lot of tiny homes, they're calling them tiny villages, that are popping up in a lot of different cities and communities. And those are all, like oddly shaped parcels or pieces of land that are really tiny, but then you have these tiny homes where you're able to put some basic infrastructure and provide transitional housing. Most of that ends up being transitional housing.
You'll be surprised how creative the communities are. For example, in India, there is no fringes, so people are living or sleeping on the footpath in Mumbai, and some community got together and came up with the sleeping dwellers right. Even if you sleep on a footpath, you have a right. So some of the answers can be in the policies, some can be in the land, some can be in construction technology, some can be in a material. And I think the idea is how can we get everyone on the table and find the right thing to do to give the community what it needs and just bridge that gap. Yes, so that's what is happening in Madagascar. People thought it's like a outcasted campus, and now it is the only shelter for 300 villagers, 300 plus villagers to come during a cyclone. There is nowhere else to go. That's actually now become the safe hub, and it's become a celebrated space. And now it is on us as architects to create something meaningful and give it identity and tie it to people, tie it to community, so that you're not an outcast. You have your own world. It's beautiful, and it's just the beginning of it. Once a school pops up, I'm sure there'll be other things that start coming around. I hope they still serve alcohol.
I don't, that's the example on the side.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah.
A lot of these things are actually not, these two examples really, in some respects, not. Sometimes you gotta need a little isolated area that's lighted out, a little bit.
Agreed.
Yeah,
But-
yeah. There's been so many different solutions like that. We're seeing, hotels being converted into, transitional housing, or old malls that are not in use anymore. There were some examples that we saw, I think, in Texas. Some really old malls were converted into these transitional shelters, and really nicely done design for some of these adaptive reuse.
I do have a question from a Zoom audience member. Actually, two people asked the same question, which is, how do you decide what projects you're going to do next?
So I'll start off, and I think, initially we had mentioned that the three pillars that we focus on are shelter, education, and community, because we think those are the foundational elements of success for anybody and for a community. And we mostly try to work with other organizations or nonprofits. And, we all have our day jobs, and we do this because we want to put our collectivism together to create something meaningful and bring about change in the world. So we try to work with communities that would not be able, or organizations that would not be able to get that design help, from other resources, or, be able to engage firms.
I would like to add that
Yes.
whoever asked this it's a very smart question. We have limited volunteers, limited time, limited resources, and so many requests. So it becomes critical to be thoughtful and intentional and being empathetic. And we have a board that we, board member, there's so many board members that come together and we share what are the projects, what is it this year that we want to do, and we all get a say on it. There's a lot of discussions. We include often our volunteers who have worked on different projects, and we all come together, have a long discussion, and figure out what the outcomes can be, what the opportunities are. Do we have resources or networks? Like I speak Hindi, Taruna speaks French. That helps us in a Madagascar project and a project in India. But apparently, if it's something in Germany and none of us speak that, so we also look at our resources and see what would make sense, and the board members chime in, and almost every time all our hearts fall in the same place. So fingers crossed, it's been good. And if there are any projects that you guys think, who is asking the question, that a community they have in mind or a gap that we can help fill, please reach out to us. If we don't know or if we can't, we will try to connect you with someone who can. Thank you.
The follow-up question was, are you all volunteers?
Yes, all of us are volunteers. No one is, there is no money involved. Most of the money that is donated to us either goes towards our softwares for an upkeep cost, because softwares are expensive. So any donations are welcome. And the other part is going towards actual projects. So whatever we donate, whatever we receive, we try to uh, purposefully put it in a project, for example. And we help them fundraise. We help create those fundraise packages, or for Madagascar, we are thinking of a campaign called Brick by Brick. So everyone can donate one brick, and slowly we may have, by the end of the year, hopefully, lots of bricks to make the building happen. So we think through these, we strategize, but most of every penny is usually gone to either sustaining us or towards the project.
We also, so just thinking about it broader, we also look at this as a mentoring opportunity. So on my day job, I'm a project manager. So this gives me a different way of thinking, engaging, being able to design. I still wear a project manager hat on with these projects, but then it's actually like I'm working in Revit, which is like, usually I'm doing contracts. So it becomes a growth opportunity for working with young across tenure doesn't even matter. We're all learning from each other. So it's a volunteer opportunity, but it's also a learning and growth opportunity as well. So it's
It really
been
is,
a
yeah.
beautiful thing to be a part of a collaboration like
I
this.
agree. And like we have a filmmaker who I'm learning how to make films and how to tell stories and how to operate a camera. And he's learning how to draw, how to design, how to tell stories, but from a different point of view. We have many students reaching out to us from different schools and architecture school as well. And it is absolutely fulfilling. And actually that makes me happy that design, like to them, giving them hope that design can actually make a difference. Because what we were told and what we taught in school and the real world, there is a little bit of gap there. But I think through this, and like for me, being able to work with Marion, Taruna, Ayushi, different walks of life, different experiences, different roles, it really exposes. Um, the exposure is amazing. People from Ukraine think of a problem very differently than people from India, or so problem solving is so much on how you're brought up, and being exposed to different ways and of how to think about things is an eye opener, and it really humbles you, because kids in Madagascar are smart. They are so smart. They don't have a school, they don't have shoes on, but they're talking about, when I make a company, I might hire you. Like, this is literally what they said. I have it on video. So it's incredibly empowering to see that.
Josh, you had a question earlier.
Well, I think we'll close for the evening. I just want to thank you once again, members of Defining Humanity. You're doing incredible work, so we really appreciate hearing about it. And we want to thank our audiences for attending tonight. Look for us to return in the fall. As always, we are very appreciative of our longtime sponsors, American Institute of Architects, Wisconsin, So we will be working up some new programming in upcoming months to share with you soon. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.